What's going on, my fellow A-plussers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode. It is I, your host, Adam Perez, back once again, bringing you guys Mandalorian Season 2. That's right, Disney Plus just went ahead and released its second season of The Mandalorian on its streaming service. And as a big Star Wars fan, I'm so glad that it's certainly back. I can't even count how many times I've watched Season 1 on one hand, honestly. I absolutely loved it. So I'm really glad to not only see Baby Yoda back, Mandalorian, but some very familiar faces and some new faces here, especially in Chapter 9 or Episode 1, however you certainly want to go about breaking it down. But listen, we will be doing Mandalorian reviews here on our YouTube page. So if you are interested or looking for a brand new home to get your Mandalorian reviews, this is certainly the place, guys. So hit that subscribe button whenever you get the opportunity, along with that bell notification, so you could get updates as to whenever we drop brand new videos. So guys, you know, look, we did the review for Mandalorian Season 1 on our previous YouTube page of A+ Opinions. Now that we have moved over to A+ Hero Report, we will be doing Season 2 for you guys. So certainly don't worry about that. But for me, I'm just glad that we have Star Wars back on television, to be honest with you. It's been quite some time since I've actually, I've been wanting to get another movie here. I've been wanting to get more television series developed for sure when it comes to Star Wars for Disney Plus. So I'm glad at least that The Mandalorian is certainly succeeding. We've got Season 2 here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Season 3 has already been written. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're also supposed to be trying to film Season 3 at least by the end of the year. So hopefully everything with the production will certainly continue to move along just fantastically well. So, but guys, Mandalorian is back, and I gotta say, this episode I really enjoyed. I mean, directed by Jon Favreau and written by Jon Favreau. Now, for Season 1, Jon Favreau did not direct a single episode in Season 1, but when you get into Season 2 here, it definitely has that Jon Favreau feel and flair to it for sure. I automatically love the fact that I didn't dive into the very first episode and get a 30-minute something episode. Like, that was one of my biggest complaints that I had of Season 1, at least when I first started watching it, right? Like, I'm like, hey, Disney, I thought I was going to get like 45 minutes of The Mandalorian. And I come to find out we got like 30-something minutes of it, unfortunately, when it comes to Season 1 episodes. So to get into this episode for Season 2 and realize I've got 50 plus minutes to certainly sit back and enjoy, I loved it. So thank you very much, Jon Favreau, for giving us a full episode full of just great content. Honestly, I don't know if that means that that's going to be the setup for everybody's episodes going forward, right? Like, I'm wondering if there's just still going to be you know, those 30-minute episodes kind of sprinkled in there, or is everybody going to just tell the story that they want to tell, and doesn't matter how long the episode certainly is. I don't think there's really any constraints, but for me, give me more content if you can. So I love the idea of a 50-minute episode. The opening in here I thought was great. It was a really great way to kind of set the tone for this season. We wind up getting ourselves a brand new location, which is one of the things that I've been really wanting to see. I just honestly wish that when we got to these new locations, that they actually gave us the names of the places that they're at, right? Like, sometimes when you're watching the movie, they might like throw the title of the planet or the neighborhood or the city or whatever that they're in the top right hand corner. I would love if they wind up doing that for The Mandalorian, just so I could know where this place was at, because if they did mention the name of it, it definitely went over my head. But I love the location. Definitely has that very sort of underworld sort of vibe to it, right? Or like you're walking through the hood, if you will. We got graffiti all over the place. You know, we got some beady red eyes looking at us, just animals just prowling around looking at us and things like that. So definitely the shady part of town that we see Mandalorian and Baby Yoda in before they wind up entering into the fighting arena that we wind up seeing from the trailer. And I will say this, I feel like a lot of the stuff that we saw from the trailer was literally from this very opening of Season 2. So it's like, let's just get all this footage out of the way that you've already seen to let you know that, guys, there is plenty more stuff that you have not even, like, we haven't even opened the treasure chest yet for Season 2 when it comes to footage for you guys to see, because half of what you've seen already was in this opening. So I honestly love that. But again, to get to see the aliens in the ring fighting the Gamorreans and things like that, I just thought it was a great way to kick off the season with great action, as we come to find out that Mando is in fact trying to find more of his people, other Mandalorians, to help lead his way, or I should say lead Baby Yoda back to his people, or the Jedi, if you will. So I did love just the brief confrontation in there. One of the great fight scenes in the beginning of this episode when Mando's fighting the group of guys off. I love the guy that just kept punching his Beskar armor, right? And at one point in time, you see the Mando use his helmet just as offense also after getting punched with it a couple times. So I thought that was pretty brilliant also. So really great fight, really great way to set things off. We got to see him use his missiles once again. That was a fan favorite, I feel like, from season 1 also. So really great way to go ahead and open things up. But I gotta say, despite the great opening and setting the tone, when he does get his hands on the person that he's trying to get the information to as to where other Mandalorians are, when this guy says Tatooine, the first thing that comes out of my mouth was like Darth Vader's no, like back to another sand planet. Like, come on, you just gave me a new location, right? Like, street graffiti. We got street lights going on. Feels like we're in a town. And the next thing you know, you want to ship me back off to sand. Nobody likes sand. It's coarse, it's rough, and it gets it everywhere, right? Like, so another sand planet. Here we go. Going back to Tatooine, Mos Pelgo is the place that we're headed this time. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. Regardless of the fact that we were on Tatooine and it was just more sand everywhere, I still thought that this was a great episode in regards to just not only the adventure, but introducing us to brand new characters, really getting into the lore of Star Wars, even getting into like some expanded universe stuff in regards to some of the novelizations. I just really loved how Jon Favreau just threw a little bit of everything into this particular episode, regardless of the fact that we were going back to Tatooine. But there was somebody I was really thrilled to certainly see when we did get back onto Tatooine, and that was in fact the engineer and her droids. I don't know if she rubbed people the wrong way in season 1 or not, but I actually really enjoyed her character. I love her chemistry with her droids. There is like some elements of like prequel trilogy in there, right, with the goofy ass droids and things like that. So I really did appreciate at least seeing her still back to her vibrant ways, loving on Baby Yoda, wanting to go ahead and take care of him, and really giving him, Mando, the information that he needed to head to Mos Pelgo, which was a city, but I believe she said during the war just got devastated, and it's practically not even there anymore at this particular point in time. So Mando certainly is on his way to try and find this city. But the one thing that I loved about this episode is I definitely got a ton of Western vibes from this entire episode. We do know that Jon Favreau loves that Western theme, that sort of aesthetic for this particular show, right? Getting the opportunity to see, that lone stranger making his way through this like disheveled town, right? Like this town's barely making it. It's poor. People are looking at him like, who's this guy coming into our town, right? Like I just love that idea of this lone stranger just making his way into town, slowly on his horse or his speeder bike in this case. But I honestly really did enjoy just that Western theme that we wind up getting here, especially in this episode. This episode just really had all the makings of a great Western, to be honest with you. And when we do get to Mos Pelgo, we do get introduced to a brand new character in here by the name of Cobb Vanth. And Cobb Vanth doesn't just show up as the mayor or the marshal of this particular town. No, he shows up as the marshal of this town, decked out in Mandalorian armor. And not just Mandalorian armor, but Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor. Listen, now, for those of you guys who do not read the novelizations of Star Wars books that are certainly out there, during the, I guess you could say, the rebranding or the restarting of Star Wars canon, when Disney started to launch brand new movies and brand new novels, we did have a trilogy by the name of Aftermath, that was written by Chuck Wendig, if I'm not mistaken. He actually, in his trilogies, introduced the character Cobb Vanth. Now, I don't know if they got into too specifics about how he wind up getting the armor or like all of his adventures, if you will. But he was, in fact, the last person to have had the Boba Fett armor. And so he does give us some really great flashback sequences in here, letting us know how he wind up coming across this armor, right? Like, he himself certainly is not Boba Fett, but he does talk about the idea about how he found himself in this particular town that particular night that the Empire fell, the end of Return of the Jedi, if you will. Great flashback of seeing the second Star Destroyer destroyed, if you will. But he also mentions the idea that even though the Empire wind up falling, this is now a power play for everybody, right? Like, now that the Empire has left Tatooine, all the people that start coming out from the shadows, right, want to start kind of taking over, flexing their muscle, taking over with their power, and it's almost immediate that that town winds up getting attacked. But fortunately for Cobb, he winds up making it out and winds up coming across a bunch of Jawas who happen to actually have this Boba Fett armor that he wind up actually paying them for, and that's how he wind up getting a hold of it. And before you know it, he comes back to the town, saves the town, and everybody crowns this guy sort of as their marshal, if you will. So I honestly loved Cobb Vanth's story in here. I thought the idea that Timothy Olyphant, who I think is a pretty great actor, gets the opportunity to play that role, somebody else outside of Boba Fett to actually wear that armor. I think that's a really cool honor to certainly have for somebody like Timothy Olyphant. So I just really thought that he brought that Cobb Vanth character that I never thought in a million years I would see sort of in a live action form. He really brought that character to life. And so I love the way that he portrayed him, love the way that he rocked that Boba Fett costume. You know, even when he gets into the bar and he's meeting with Mandalorian for the first time and they're having that sort of conflict with one another, that, you know, Mando wants that armor back. If you're not Mandalorian, you should not be wearing it, right? So there is definitely a conflict of interest. And so I love just the shot of him taking his helmet off and putting it, just putting it right on the table. And you got that close-up shot of the helmet, get to see that indention, which is, you immediately know it's Boba Fett's helmet, just from that indention alone of where he hit his helmet on the doorway of going back to his Slave One in Empire Strikes Back, if I'm not mistaken. So you immediately know that it's him. So I really love just seeing what Timothy Olyphant not only brought to the character, but really working opposite of the Mandalorian. Now, I don't know if Pedro Pascal was in that costume at any particular point in time. Heck, I don't even know if Timothy Olyphant certainly was, but I feel like he probably rocked that gear on set and things like that. But if him and Pedro certainly were together, I really enjoyed their chemistry. Even if it is like during some of the action sequences that we wind up getting, like, there's something cool about seeing these two working together, especially with their rocket packs and, flying around in the sky together. It very has that like Rocketeer sort of feel to me. And considering the fact growing up that I was a big Rocketeer fan back in the day, just getting the opportunity to see Mandalorian using his rocket pack, him and, Cobb Vanth doing that together, I thought it was great teamwork, and I really loved their chemistry and the fact they even got along pretty well themselves. So hopefully we get the opportunity to see those two again, because I was really pleased. I was really pleased with the live action version of Cobb Vanth here and introducing us to. And I just think it's cool that that somebody like Jon Favreau is mindful enough to really mine sort of all the story elements that they've established in canon and pulling some of those characters to life, and him working alongside somebody like a Dave Filoni certainly helps, right? So use those characters. Star Wars has such rich characters. If they've already been created, do your best to try and bring them to light. So I really appreciate the fact that they wind up doing that in here. Who wind up joining us just now? Bacon and Sushi. Baby Yoda's adorable. Yeah, Baby Yoda still. I don't want to say Baby Yoda stole the show here in this week's episode, but he definitely has some really great, just sort of adorable and cute moments. I mean, seeing him on the back of the speeder bike and his ears just flapping in the wind as he's flying in the back. I thought seeing some of the facial expressions to like his flamethrower that he wind up seeing the Mando use in here. Him being frightened of the sandworm, I thought was pretty perfect also. So yeah, Baby Yoda definitely had his moments here in this week's episode. But speaking of the sandworm, this is where we find our two characters having to work together. There's a huge sandworm that's kind of disrupting this particular area. I think the design of the crate dragon was incredible in here. At first, I thought it was like a sarlacc or something. I was like, oh, maybe that's like the rest of the body to a sarlacc or something like that. No, that's not the case. No, this crate dragon is a completely different creature that actually eats sarlacc pits for breakfast, it seems like. So I love getting the opportunity to see it. I think the special effects are just getting more and more incredible for this season, to be honest with you. It continues to blow me away, but getting the opportunity to see the sandworm and just all the details for this crate dragon just honestly blew me away. And going back to this episode, you know, when you watch it, it's definitely in like widescreen ratio aspect. But when they actually start having this battle with the crate dragon, I love the fact that Jon Favreau decides to kind of open it up to sort of the full ratio, if you will. It almost felt like I was sitting in an IMAX theater, if you will, right? Like when you're watching a movie, sometimes there are specific scenes that are filmed in IMAX that have those wider sort of ratios so you can see everything. And so when you're sitting in a movie theater and you've got the movie playing, sometimes you can see like the black of the screen sort of disappears as the picture actually widens. If you go back to this episode, just as the sandworm, the crate dragon is about to come out, it does the same exact thing. It winds up taking up your entire television, and it really brought that sort of character to life. Like it really gave it a ton of weight, a ton of depth. Like it really made the crate dragon feel more of a threat. I don't want to say more of a threat than it was, because it was a threat to say the least, but I think the idea of opening up the aspect ratio really worked in showcasing just how powerful and dangerous this creature was and all the mayhem that it was leaving behind. I mean, the acid attack, like the acid spitting and things like that, I did not expect that at all. So just incredible creature design. And it really blew me away this week, to be honest with you. And I'm going to say something else. Another honorable mention I got to talk about: the Tusken Raider team up in this episode. When it comes to the Tusken Raiders, I feel like, I don't want to say that they've been given a bad rap or anything like that, right? But I love how this episode really showcases a different side of that society. Like, I had no idea that Mando, first of all, even spoke Tusken Raider. So it was kind of crazy to see him holding a conversation with them, calling even their animals, petting some of their animals and their creatures, like literally being that middleman between him and Cobb Vanth. So I thought that was really cool that the Tusken Raiders got so much focus in here. But, they're so used to sort of being depicted as these wild beasts, right? Like these monsters, mindless animals is what we've heard them referred to as, right? Like even Anakin's like, they're animals, so I slaughtered them like animals, I hate them. You know that line. Come on, that's a golden line. It's one of the classic lines from Anakin. Like, so it is one of those things where they've always really been depicted like that. So it's kind of cool to see that they have a society, like a functioning society, that they can communicate and like compromise and understand one another. And I love the fact that the Mando even clarifies to the townspeople in here that, yeah, they are brutal people, right? Like they certainly are raiders. That's just the nature of who these people are. They may not be the best people in the world, but they can be reasoned with, right? Like they can be sort of worked with at the end of the day. So I just love how The Mandalorian really approached this, and just how Jon Favreau used this platform, if you will, to further talk about the Tusken Raiders a little bit, because I don't really feel like they're highlighted in that way very often. I mean, maybe we've seen something like that in like the Clone Wars animated series or whatever the case may be. When you think about the movies, they're never really showcased that way. So I thought it was great. And honestly, the fact that the Tusken Raiders play such a huge role in here, I love the fact that Mando actually offers up the town as sort of extra reinforcements to fight against this crate dragon, because there is something about the idea of this town having to kind of swallow its pride and work with the Tusken Raiders, despite just all the differences that these two have had, right? Like there is such a great lesson in this episode that I feel like George Lucas would really be proud of or just really appreciate, right? Because at the end of the day, as George Lucas himself has said, these movies still have to be for kids. There still has to be some sort of lesson within these stories, and the fact that the townspeople have to swallow their pride, understand that they both have to work towards a common theme, even though they may not see things eye to eye. I just really put a ton of appreciation in understanding the value of that lesson, right? That sometimes you may not agree with people, but everybody should be able to have that capacity of understanding, like having a common goal in mind and being able to, whatever your differences are, kind of push them to the side when you guys certainly need to, and work through things, right? And work things out, because at the end of this, there's now a truce between the people of Mos Pelgo and the Tusken Raiders, that you don't mess with us, we won't mess with you, right? We solved the problem, we're good to go. And so I love that lesson that was taught in this episode. Working together towards a common goal despite differences, I think, is something that we could all use in this particular climate in today's day and age. So I honestly was just really, really pleased with what Jon Favreau wound up giving us when it came to just his directing work and his writing. There are even elements of like Iron Man that I felt like it kind of reminded me of in here, like that when we were talking about the Cobb Vanth sort of backstory. When he's talking about coming back to the town with the Boba Fett armor on, and he's trying to protect them and run sort of like this syndicate or these people out of his town. When he's walking into the middle of the street and you see the transport trying to like get away, and he leans over and he shoots his rocket out, sort of thing. And it's just, you get that wide view of the rocket, like in the background. It just reminds me of like the Iron Man scene, right, where he like throws his missile into the tank and he turns around as he's walking away. You get that explosion. Like there is like that similar theme between Cobb Vanth and this the Iron Man scene that I really love. That when I saw, I immediately thought to myself, that's a Jon Favreau scene. That's a Jon Favreau scene. It was another Jon Favreau scene. Another Jon Favreau scene was seeing the Mandalorian swallowed at the end of this episode by the crate dragon. Like, I was all into this battle. I thought the battle was fantastic. To see them go up against this gigantic sandworm was just epic on so many levels. And when it happens, I immediately am like just taken out of the episode. I'm like, come on, like that can't happen. Like, there's no way that can happen. Like, come on. It just, I couldn't I couldn't hold back my belief in what I was seeing. You know what I mean? So like when it happens, it kind of takes me out, but I can't lie. It's still an epic ass scene. Like seeing Mando fly back out of this creature's mouth, the thing exploding, and he comes back with his, superhero landing and whatever the case may be. Some Rocketeer superhero level stuff that I feel like you can only get from the mind of Jon Favreau. So I'm glad that he was back in the director's seat this week, honestly. Not that people didn't do a good job in season one. Like, I appreciated it. But I just feel when I watch Jon Favreau, I feel like it's just on a different level, man. I just feel like it's just up there. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. And so I just thought that was great, from the lesson to the great Tusken Raider stuff to the epic crate dragon to the incredible debut by Timothy Oliphant as Cobb Vanth, who brings back the Boba Fett armor. Absolutely incredible, guys. Incredible episode. Two quick honorable mentions before we wrap up in here. I love the appearance of Tamora Morrison, who does in fact come back. He was in fact a couple of articles we did for A Plus Hero Report a while back, talking about he was going to reprise his role as Boba Fett, or at least come back for this season. I'm assuming homeboy is in fact Boba Fett. Like, you don't bring Tamora Morrison back without him playing Boba Fett, right? So the fact that we saw Boba Fett's armor in here, and the last shot is literally Boba Fett walking towards the camera in the Two Suns sunset. Yeah, man. Sold. I am curious as to whether or not we're going to see him again. Like, clearly he's looking for like Mando is looking for a Mandalorian, right? Now that he has the armor, though, is he going to stick around on Tatooine and continue to try and look for a Mandalorian, if you will, or will Boba come back? I mean, at least I'm assuming that that's Boba, right? Like, I gotta think that's Boba. I can't imagine it being any other sort of clone or clone trooper or whatever the case may be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But my first impression definitely is that's Boba, who might have somehow survived the Sarlacc pit. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll clarify that for us next week. If anything, though, I hope he comes back. I hope it wasn't just like a, hey guys, he's still alive and he's walked off into the sunset. We'll see if you see him again, right? Like if it's just a one-off cameo, I might be a little bit bummed. Like I'm kind of hoping he pops back up again, or this story certainly continues. But regardless, I'm happy that they brought the guy back. Come on, what else can we ask for, right? And for some reason, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking to myself, I don't know why I had this idea of like an Ahsoka spinoff series coming out of this series. I really don't know why. I guess I thought the fact that we wind up getting the Cobb Vanth, who I never thought that we would get the opportunity to see in live action, and now that they're taking the opportunity for something like season 2 to even introduce Ahsoka live action and a couple of other characters from animation into this realm. Like, while I know it's going to be the Dave Filoni episode, I feel like that's probably, which is episode 5, that they'll probably will focus on that. If it is just a simple one-off, I am kind of curious as to whether or not he will just use her in the one episode, sort of as like a testing, if you will, right? Because Dave Filoni is getting some live action directorial, experience under his belt, if you will. I think he's only got one episode in here, but he had like 2 or 3, I think, in season 1. It might have just been 2. So he is getting some live action work here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets more live action work, say, come like season 3, and then maybe launches an Ahsoka spinoff series afterwards, if it's certainly well received for this season. I don't know. I just thought it was cool, the fact that they went so far to go ahead and bring Cobb Vanth in, that maybe they have big plans for some of these other characters that they certainly want to utilize, because there are some characters that I would love to see come back. Like, I don't need a Cobb Vanth spinoff series, but I wouldn't mind somehow seeing him play a role in an episode or 2. Anthony, what's up, Anthony? Good to see you in here, man. He says, no way he makes just one appearance. Boba will show up again. Talking about Morrison. Yeah, man, I hope so. I absolutely hope you're right. I mean, because I just don't think, I agree with you. I don't think you bring him back just for that. Like, that's cool and all, but if you are going to bring him back, let him have a significant role. Maybe somehow get his armor back from the Mandalorian. Who knows? Like, I really want to know how he wound up escaping and just leaving his armor behind, or maybe he had to break free of his armor in order to survive. I have no idea, but it'll be interesting to see if we get any more Boba this season. Jess, what's up, Jesse? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you very much. But yeah, overall, guys, great kickoff to season 2 premiere. I thought it was great. Like I said, the one thing out of this episode that really just kind of took me out was the idea of the Mandalorian getting swallowed and managing to survive that. One of my favorite LOL moments in this episode was seeing one of the Tusken Raiders get eaten. Right, the poor guy, the one guy that brings the bait, right, for the sandworm, and he ties it up and he gives the Tusken Raider call. Like, if that was me, I would have given the call and booked it. But for some reason, homeboy's just standing around waiting until he like sees it, and then he starts like, "Oh, I got to get out of here." No. You leave that bantha right there. You do your call and you book it, man. Or you start booking it, and when you're halfway, then you give the call. But I just thought it was funny that he brought the bait and he managed to be the bait. So I thought that was pretty funny also. So leave it up to Jon Favreau. The guy knows what he's doing, man. He's so good. He's so good. But guys, listen, those are just my A+ opinions, man. At the end of the day, I certainly want to go ahead and know yours. So please let me know your thoughts on this particular week's episode in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us after the live stream. Listen, guys, going forward, if you guys have have any sort of live viewer questions that you certainly want to go ahead and have either answered on this show or answered on A Plus Hero Report, send in your questions at any particular point in time during the week to aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you have any questions that you want to have answered at the end of our episodes for The Mandalorian or any of our A Plus Hero Report episodes, because we do go live every Sunday at noon Central Time, go ahead and submit them anytime during the week if you'd like to. Again, that's aplusopinions@gmail.com for some of our show reviews or for A Plus Hero Report, ladies and gentlemen. So feel free to go ahead and do that whenever you can. But other than that, guys, that's certainly going to go ahead and do it for us here today. So certainly thank you very much for certainly joining me. I'm so glad that Star Wars is back on TV, to be quite honest with you guys. So I look very forward to bringing you guys these Mandalorian reviews certainly going forward. Again, if you haven't subscribed and you're looking for a home for your Star Wars stuff, this is the place, guys. Hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification so that when we do drop videos, you'll certainly be notified. And if you love our content, guys, do us a big favor, hit that like button so YouTube can certainly recognize our work and recommend it to other people. So other than that, do me a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. May the Force be with you, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you later. Bye.